All right. Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Monday and welcome to the Marriage Shop. Got stuff falling in the Marriage Shop. But what's going on? Good evening. Go ahead.
Hey, so we're Mike and Wendy. We're in the Marriage Shop. What? We're in the Marriage Shop. And it was kind of cold today in Evans, but we are in Evans, Georgia. We are at home for a change.
Yeah, cold. I don't know what happened. We were on the phone on a meeting earlier on Zoom, and thank you very much. We're talking to somebody from Chicago, I think. He said it was 78 degrees in Chicago. How is it that it feels like Chicago in Georgia?
Yeah, it's pretty chilly.
I got a problem with that.
It's pretty chilly. I mean, it was cold this morning, and it was kind of chilly. Then it's warmed up a little bit. So it's about 81 degrees right now.
Is it? It is not 81 out there.
Yeah, it is. It's 81
chilly
degrees.
81.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right.
So we're back. We're glad that you guys are here with us. And as we always say, if you think someone could benefit from this platform or hearing or joining our conversation, go ahead and grab them, tag them, and bring them on in. So if you were with us last week, we were talking about
performance issues.
And we kind of went down a couple of paths with that one.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we can't talk about that enough.
Nope. And matter of fact, I believe you should take that to, like, I don't know, with whoever your people are, and roll that and watch it as a group. I think, because I think it's something that a lot of people struggle to bring into the conversation, but probably something that needs to be brought into the conversation. So yes, go check that out. Share it with somebody. Tonight, though, like, go ahead and grab. And so a lot of times, the second Monday, we will discuss things that are relevant to singles. I mean, I guess seniors can be singles too, but
Sure.
Singles, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so tonight we're doing that. So, but always, it's not this is not necessarily for singles only, right? Because I'm trying to hear from a good number of people tonight on this particular topic, because this actually popped up this weekend on Mother's Day. We're in church and we're kind of hearing some things and listening to the message and whatnot. And so this pops up. And so I would love to know what you all think about this.
Yeah. So Shannon Cannings, thank you for joining us.
Hey,
and it
what's
says
going on,
you're
sir?
live from Dallas, Texas.
Big D.
Yeah. So that's good news.
Yeah.
And Michelle Moore Wilson, thanks for joining us. And Nicolette,
Hey, Nicolette.
you stay true to that Alabama Roll Tide. We appreciate you. So thanks, guys, for jumping in here with us.
Yep. And
So what?
no, nothing. I think I said, hey, Nicolette. Hey, Michelle. I thought I'd go ahead and just throw that out there too, just since I'm going down the list. And Lady T. And Brendan Francois. What's up, sir? Welcome in. He said he was excited when you said seniors. Now I've got to regroup. Right.
Oh my goodness.
That's so funny.
So I mean, yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. But I mean, that's what I'm saying. Seniors can be singles too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in this whole idea, when we say second Mondays are for singles, we mean that generally the topic that we're discussing is relevant to people who are in their season of being single. It doesn't mean that it's not relevant to married couples. And so we never want it to be that somebody feels like, oh, this week they're not talking to me, because what we invite and we encourage is that you married couples can share all of your sage wisdom with all of the single people who are just trying to figure this thing out. One thing that we know to be true is that that there aren't always good examples of what marriage looks like, what good, healthy relationships look like. And so if we can be an example to anyone else, why not bring you guys with us? Because you're the best examples of what marriage and relationships can be.
That is so good, because I mean, we're just a couple right here, and we don't carry this entire message. We don't, we're not here to try to do all the work or anything like that. I mean, this is about kind of like when you say, bringing a lot of people together who are like-minded in that way and who have their own wisdom to offer to each other. You all do it all the time in the chat, by the way. And that's just in the chat, not to mention when you all get together and speak and talk and meet. But we just appreciate the fact that you were willing to dive into a lot of these conversations with us and to share and support each other. We think that's amazing, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah. And with that said, we had talked about this I guess it was maybe during COVID, we talked about it a little bit more, but this whole idea of maybe doing a Marriage Shop Live. And so we'd love to hear back from you. Is that something that you'd be interested in? Would you want to come and join us doing a Marriage Shop Live, where we'd invite you guys in and just do what we do here, but in a real space, not just in a virtual space? So let us know. You can drop that in the chat. Let us know what you think about that. And maybe we'll start working on it again.
Are you kidding? I love that idea. At least I think I do.
You think you do? Yeah.
I have no idea exactly. No, actually, I have a lot of ideas about how we could do it, but it would be amazing. Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. So what are we talking about tonight?
Oh man, tonight we are talking about the search, or what discovery. I don't know. Should you be searching, or are you waiting to be found?
Oh, that's good.
So we're talking about that relationship, that one. And so we were talking about, in church yesterday, I think Pastor was kind of going down the scriptures, and he ran across, I believe it's Proverbs 18, verse 22. And so that says, he who finds a wife finds a good thing, right? And a lot of y'all are familiar with that particular thing. And so, and the point that came out of that yesterday, one of the points anyway, was about him finding a wife. Right, him being the husband. And so speaking to some active process by which he is, searching, right? And so almost, he didn't say it this way, but it was almost as if it's kind of the man's job to find her. And if she finds him, then that could be a problem, right? That's not her job to go and find him. And so I was like, that's interesting. I just wonder is that what it is? Is it the role of the man to go and find her, or can she find him?
Yeah.
Right. Or should you wait? Should you be waiting to be found? I'm just curious as to what you all think about that. It's a very interesting idea.
Yeah.
And of course, it always gets me thinking about us. Right.
Yeah.
And okay, man, how did it happen? How did it go with us?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
So
with us. So a couple of thoughts come to mind on this whole topic and how we kind of discussed it a little bit. Right. And I think what I dropped in there was this whole idea of pursuit, right? Who's pursuing who?
Yeah.
And conversations that we've had with our girls. So there's what happened with us. There's conversations that we're having with our daughters around this very subject. And then there's this whole idea, because I think one of the things our pastor did on in a different way was he talked about old school versus new school.
Yes.
And I think that often we tend to think of the whole courtship or men pursuing women or asking even permission for a woman's hand in marriage as kind of an old school way of thinking.
Yeah. And so you said courtship. I just want to, I know we got Texas on here. We got South Carolina, the Carolinas, all of them, Florida. So for y'all, what she said is courtship. Courting, right?
It's not courtship.
No, it's not It's not courtship. It's courting. I'm just saying something in that y'all. So I just wanted to make sure that we were speaking the same language.
Okay. Yeah. Continue. So anyway, but this, and so some people would say that idea that the man pursuing the woman, or that it falls to the man to pursue the woman, is kind of an old school way of thinking. So we want to know what you think, because you kind of tee that up. Drop in the chat what you think about this whole idea of who's pursuing who. And I mean, if you want to, you can just kind of tell us, is it right for a woman to pursue a man? I don't know.
Well, before I just want to know, like, in your own relationship, who was pursuing who? Who was doing the chasing? Right? Who was the one who really was initiating, making that move? I'm just curious for those of you that are on, even if you're on the replay, we just want to know who chased after who.
Yeah. So Michelle says it's difficult for men to get a woman's attention these days. Everyone is offended. Yeah, that's true, right? I mean, we see that all the time, hear about it all the time. Mist says, prepare yourself to be a husband, prepare yourself to be a wife, attract and pray for what you're looking for. That's good. That's wisdom right there. Yeah.
Okay. So that sounds like that. I mean, that doesn't sound like that's on that waiting thing, right? The preparation and the waiting. All right. Very, very cool.
Yeah.
But, I'm curious, how did it happen for y'all? And so because like for us, a lot of people know our story. I wasn't looking for you necessarily. I knew it was time, right? And so, I remember I prayed, like, literally, because you ask God, talk to God about a lot of things, but I got intentional one day, and I was like, okay, God, I am ready. Like, enough of this.
Yeah,
I'm ready. Send her. I'll know, and the answer will be yes. I mean, that's kind of a summary of that prayer.
Yeah. I mean, I think essentially what you did was you made space, right? And I think that often when we talk to people, what we hear from people is that they don't have space, that they are either entangled in a number of things. They're close to a number of people. They haven't quite committed to any one person, and they want to leave their options open. But when you create space, and you intentionally created space, then there was the opportunity for someone to walk in, and I just happened to be the person that walked in.
You say happen to be,
Yeah.
And you were. And so, but even at that though, there's kind of this initial meeting that happened. After the initial meeting, still something's got to happen next.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that, there we have a couple of decisions to make, right? So people talk all the time about this proverbial clock that's ticking, and whether that's ticking for a man or ticking for a woman or whatever it is, as you reach a certain age, this urgency or this sense of urgency to be in relationship, to be in a committed relationship, to maybe even to be married. Like, a lot of people, when they're younger, they kind of make an objective or a goal of, by the time I'm 25, I want to be married with 2 kids or whatever. I want to be married with a house and 2 kids. And so that certainly changes over time. But I think as that urgency sets in, behavior changes. So I see a couple of you are dropping some comments, and so I want to make sure I get there. So Miss said he reached out to his wife first, just FYI. Thank you for that. Shannon says, I pursued my wifey, then we chased each other, and seesaw through my foolishness. She saw through my foolishness. We met at church, real talk, and I wasn't her type. But hey, we's married now. Yeah, I know that's right. Stephanie McNeil Barrett, thanks for joining us. And she says, the man should pursue the woman. Pray for what you are seeking, and your paths will cross. That's good. That's good.
So yeah, and I can get with that. I am wondering, like where do we get that though, right? Is it is kind of more of a tradition based thing, or is that something that is that what God's design and plan is, that the man pursue the woman? Because I even actually, I was thinking about actually the Adam and Eve, right? Okay. And how is it that Eve came into Adam's life? Right. So, God, he saw Adam, he's kind of looking at what he created, right? And here's Adam, doing this thing, naming animals and working, gardening, whatever. And God, says, it's not good for man to be alone. Yeah. Right. Now it doesn't illustrate what that looks like. I imagine myself sitting in my apartment in Maryland, like singing the blues and just like, something's wrong, right? And so, he puts Adam to sleep, takes the rib, boom, Eve. The word doesn't say exactly that way, obviously, right? But so he, in effect, kind of presents Eve to Adam, right? Yeah. And so it's very interesting, right? In terms of the visual that we get from that, kind of this thing that's kind of organic that just happens. It's just like, wow, he saw, Adam liked what he saw, right? And so I don't know. He didn't have to chase though, so to speak, right? Yeah. Well, he didn't have to chase. There was no competition, but he also didn't have to look. And so it could have been that God created Eve and then hid her somewhere. And then it would have been incumbent upon Adam to seek her out, right? To come to this realization on his own that he needed something else, that his needs or his desires weren't being met with everything that was available to him. And that would then drive the action of him actually actively pursuing or seeking. But that's not how it went down. It's not how it went down. And in fact, well, I say in fact, I don't know. Since I don't believe that Adam knew what woman was, he probably wasn't like, God, can you, are you gonna help me out here? He got to work, and I don't want to take us all the way to the end here at the beginning, but I can't help but say Adam was kind of doing the work, right? That he was put here to do, and his wife was presented to him. That's like, that kind of blows my mind a little bit now that I've said it out loud. Okay, say it's more. Very interesting, right? Because when people talk about the clock ticking, for example, right? Well, is the clock really ticking? Because if you sense that the clock is ticking, then you're looking at the clock. And if you're looking at the clock, that means you're not attending to something, whatever it is you're supposed to be doing, right? Whatever it is you were put here to do, you're looking at the clock. And when you start looking at the clock, all of a sudden, that kind of brings about a little, what you might call anxiety. It brings about a little bit of pressure, like, oh no, the clock is ticking. And then people start talking, you're not married yet, no kids yet, you haven't done this, that, and the third thing yet. Yeah. And so then when the pressure kicks in, all of a sudden, now the focus begins to shift. So now I'm not focused on work anymore. I'm focused on what I don't have. I'm focused on, like where, when, how. And now I'm searching, and now all of a sudden I'm all the way off, and that might compel you to begin to make decisions that you wouldn't ordinarily make if you didn't feel the pressure. Because how many people know someone? And put this in the chat. Put I do, and if it's you don't have to say it's me. But in the chat, put if you know anyone who's felt pressure to be in a relationship, and so they jump into one because they heard the clock ticking. Just put I do in the chat if you ever seen that scenario. Yeah, and I think that's good. You bring up a good point, because oftentimes that pressure comes from within the family, right? It's our own parents or our own grandparents or church members or our own community. Our best friends are the people who are saying, when are you gonna find somebody? When are you gonna settle down? When are you gonna get married? When are you gonna have kids? And it starts from a place of love, but it does apply a tremendous amount of pressure. It does. So yeah. And a lot of those people are operating based on their own insecurity, right? Their own expectations and things that they, their own lives and things that they wish they should have done and all that. when we got married, people have some very interesting questions for you when you ultimately decide, hey, this is the one I'm going to settle down.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So there are a couple of good comments in the chat. So I see, don't put a timeline on it. That's why people have anxiety about their lives.
There you go.
Yeah. The man pursuing woman is a nice gesture of masculinity, but nowhere in the Bible does it say chase a woman or pursue a wife. And then lastly, is I've seen it's super peer pressure about little life milestones.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah,
really good.
Mist is like on a roll tonight.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But that's exactly right. I mean, there's a lot of anxiety, and I'm not going to class tonight on the whole brain and psychology thing, because when you start like giving me the side eye a little bit. However, I will say, when there's anxiety, when there's pressure, when there's stress, you don't think the same.
Right.
Like literally, you're not able to access kind of that higher level thinking. And in a lot of ways, you're not able to see when there's pressure. And some of you probably felt it. When there's pressure, you begin to get, your vision gets more narrow, literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
Narrow. And so now you don't even have the number of options at your disposal, and so now you're just making different decisions than you would have made had you just rested in this peace, right? Of just knowing, hey, God's got it. And I'm just going to keep on praying. I'm keep on doing my work.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And I think it almost plays out as if there's one pond with all of the fish in it, and a set of people, right? Yeah. So there are, I mean, I don't know, I guess to make the whole illustration make sense. So say there are 20 men outside of the pond and there are 20 women in it. And the women are representing what is available, right? And so there's that first guy that finds the woman he's looking for, and he plucks her out of the pond. So a couple of things happen when that happens. It either scares away a whole bunch of the other women, or it causes a frenzy, right? When am I going to get picked? Am I going to get picked last? Then you got the men out here saying, wait a minute, what's going to be left? Let me go ahead and jump in here and get mine before all of the good ones are gone. And so then it creates this whole thing. And we're limited to this one pond. Yeah. That's how it sometimes feels. We almost create a scenario where we're like, hey, and we've heard this, don't pick up anybody at a club. That's not the best place to do it. Try to avoid bars, because you might be hindered in that pursuit process, and some other things. Don't try to find anybody in the grocery store, although that might happen, but find somebody at church. Well, finding somebody at church means that you're limited to that pool of people at church. And oh my goodness, the pressure that creates.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So, all right. So I get it, right? I get why people say find somebody at church. We get it. I'm with you, right? Yeah, find somebody at church.
Yeah.
But suppose you're somebody who's not at church.
Yeah, but that don't work either, because it's usually like 25 women and one man.
Okay. You know, that's what church are you talking? Anyway, so but listen, yeah, it's like people go and I think when we're saying find somebody at church, I think what people are saying is find somebody who's like-minded, find somebody who's equally yoked, right? As it happens, maybe you're somebody you won't find at church, right? But you might be able to identify you're somebody no matter where you are. So, I found my somebody at work. I didn't go to her church. If I stayed limited to my church, I mean, I guess that's okay. My person was not at my church, right? Yeah. But there were people at church. So I guess if I go to your church, if I found it, whatever. I guess the point is, whether you find them in the store, I mean, the club is kind of one of those places where it's like, right? Everybody's just whatever. I mean, I guess you can find that person there too, right? But I think it's about being able to recognize that person when you see them, and if it's on your heart, like, yeah, that's the one. Well, now maybe it's time to say something. We're talking about this whole idea of who pursues who. Okay, so and Miss says, he believes, it's his personal belief that the man is supposed to pursue, right? It's a show of masculinity. And I'll buy that. I think of, if you all know the story of Ruth, right? Boaz and Ruth. Well, long story short, Ruth is with a widow, right?
Naomi.
She was Naomi's daughter-in-law.
Yep.
Right. All that, their husbands died, so they're just together. And so Naomi has to go back home to her people. And she told Ruth, hey, you can go back.
Yeah.
Right. Because the other daughter-in-law, there was another one. She was like, hey,
I'm out.
I can't do this.
Yeah.
Right. And because it was a really depressing, dire situation. But so Naomi says, Ruth, you can go back home. And she's like, no, I'm with you. Your people are going to be my people. Right. It's a really touching story.
It is.
But she knows by doing that, she may be relegating herself to just a life of this, her and Ruth.
Yes.
Right? However, they get back to Naomi's homeland. And so Boaz, who was kind of running things, and I apologize for like really harshly summarizing it, but he's kind of running things. And eventually Boaz and Ruth are married, but they're not married because Boaz was out looking for Ruth, trying to find Ruth, right? It was a whole setup, really.
It was a setup, sure.
Right? Naomi was like, we're gonna make this thing work.
Yeah.
And so she told Ruth what to do in order to kind of put herself in the presence of Boaz and what to do when she was there, right?
Yeah.
And so he didn't go looking for her. He didn't find her. She literally was placed in his presence.
Yeah, it's a great. She created the circumstances. They kind of orchestrated the circumstances that led to that, and I think it's a great story because it just shows. It's a story about faith, right? It's a story about really, being committed to loyalty and faith is what I'll say. And I think that, but it's one example. And so as we kind of look at the word and dissect the word and pull out the parts that apply to us, I mean, you mentioned the scripture that says, he who finds a wife finds a good thing. I mean, literal translation makes that seem like and sound like go out there and find you a wife. But is it that we are making meaning out of things that are not there? Are we making the meaning out of the word to fit our circumstance? And so I kind of throw that out there.
I never do that.
I kind of throw that out there just as a question, because we sometimes find ourselves in that place that, maybe not me, maybe not you, maybe it's me. It's not Mike, maybe it's somebody else, but we find scripture and then we make our circumstance fit the scripture versus, really kind of digging a little bit deeper. So I won't even get into that. But what I will say is, I think that's a great story. You talked about our story. And if you know our story, we were both at a place where you created space. I also created space. And then the timing was just right. But I was not afraid to let you know that I saw you. Right. And so it wasn't that I was like really pursuing you per se, but I also didn't play a game of you should come after me. You know what I mean? I didn't wait for you to come after me. So a couple of people have jumped on here and I wanted to say hi. So Trey, thanks for joining us. Jay Gandy, my goodness, thanks for joining us. And so Miss said scarcity mindset. That's what I was describing when I was talking about the pond and the limited pool of people. Shannon Canning says men deal with facts, women deal with emotions. You've got to communicate, and that's true. You have to be able to find a way to get your message across or your point across, and then So I could go on, but what were you going to say?
Find someone respectable by you.
Yes.
Others, right.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, what you said, what was I about to say?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. So anyway, no, but I was sitting there, I was thinking about Adam working, Boaz working. You know what I was doing when he walked in? I was working. I mean, at least I think I'm pretty sure I was working. I was looking like I was working anyway.
Yeah.
Feverishly typing away at my monitor that morning. There's something about the working, I think. But when we did meet, I didn't pursue her initially because, I'm like, wow, she's cute. There's something, but I don't know. I didn't know if it was okay to pursue her. It wasn't time at that moment. I don't know. But I tell you what, I think she sent me an email after that, one email. And after that, I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I go ahead and, you know,
Yeah.
pursue a little bit. And so I began to then, you know, make a couple of moves to kind of be in where she was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
That's
it's kind of we are, I guess I would call us more modern. We're not necessarily old school,
Yeah.
but we're a little bit more modern in that vein.
Yeah.
At the same time, the conversations that we're having with our daughters. So we have two daughters. Some of you know that we have two daughters, 22 and soon to be 20. And they are in the throes of the game of pursuit, right? And so it's an interesting thing, interesting dynamics, and it puts us in an interesting position because it's all about, well, what are you telling your children? And so again, we want to ask you, what are you telling your children about? What are you telling your daughters specifically about whether or not it's okay to go after a guy that they like? What are you telling your sons about whether or not it's okay for a girl to come after them, or is it their job to go find a woman? Tell us what you're telling them, and then we'll tell you what we're telling out.
I would love to know what
You'd
people
love
are
to
telling
know?
their daughters. Yeah, because
Yes.
I could probably use some help on this
Mm.
myself.
Yeah, we want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Miss said men pursue their purpose. That's good.
They certainly should.
Yeah, they should.
Right. And so, and in order to pursue it, just like that woman, you got to see it. Right. So I think there's something there. Right.
Okay.
But yeah, I think there are a lot of people who are living their lives, you know, maybe there's regrets, maybe there are, you know, second thoughts. There's all kind of things because you think you see it and you don't move, right? Whatever it might be, maybe that person, maybe you even knew him and you knew, but you didn't do anything, or maybe there was an opportunity and you knew there was something really pressing you to do it, but you didn't do anything, or maybe something you should have said to someone at some time, and you knew it was time, but you didn't move. I believe that if it's yours to do, it's yours to do, right? But that window doesn't remain open indefinitely. Yeah. There's a timing thing, because I think our purpose is tied up. That is, our unique purpose is tied up, right, in a broader purpose that requires all these other people. And everybody, in order for that purpose to be met, everybody's got to move. Think about it, right? So that's what I think.
Okay.
So.
Yes.
Did you ask a question? Are we waiting on some feedback from somebody?
Yeah, but I mean, that's all good. There's like a lag. We throw stuff out there, and then like several minutes later, it comes in. but what I'll say is, you know, the conversations that we're having with our daughters. So you know, so I'll start with the conversations that my mother had with me, and I think this is probably fitting because Mother's Day was yesterday. So hopefully, and we didn't even say that. Happy Mother's Day to anyone who may not have heard Happy Mother's Day yesterday.
Happy Mother's Day.
It's possible. I just think you should just have Mother's Week, right? It shouldn't just be like one day. It's like Mother's Day all week. And people have extended it to Mother's Day weekend. Yeah. But I think it should just be like the month of May.
It should be like March Madness, except for mothers. May Mother's Madness or something. I don't know, but just like weeks and weeks of just going crazy over mom.
Yeah, well, my mother started very early in the I can say that what's the word? The message. Here's probably the message. The message she sent was there are plenty of fish in the sea. That was from the very beginning. Don't just settle on one. Don't settle on the first one. There are plenty of fish in the sea. You know, keep your options open, explore, and, you know, don't be afraid to get out there. Yeah. That's kind of the messaging, right? Until I started finding fish. And then it was like, I bring this one home and she's like, no, throw that one back. Okay. So I think there's some things about this one that weren't quite right. So I find another one, you bring that one home and it's like, maybe that one is not exactly, I mean, you know, maybe it's a little too small or a little too big, or it has one fin.
throw it back.
right? And so then there's this whole process of trying to find the person that's going to be the right person. And we've talked about it over the years. If you go way back, the Marriage Shop, like 2 years ago in the Marriage Shop, we talked about red flags and how to find the ideal mate and to really identify first what you're looking for and who's ideal for you. Because I think that's so important before you start looking, right? This whole idea of pursuit means that you know what you're pursuing. You said you have to see it. You have to know what it is that is even a good fit for you before you can determine what's not a good fit.
Absolutely. And I want to throw you off your point, but I have to say,
no, it's all good.
You can fall in love with anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And so we often wonder, why is it? Why does he stay? Why does she stay?
Yeah.
Because if your heart is involved with the wrong person, your heart can be connected to the wrong person. So that's why what Wendy is saying is so very important to really understand what it is you're looking for, who it is you're looking for. And when you identify that this person is not that, you might have a decision to make.
Yeah. And it's interesting, right? Because a lot of what I was looking for was also informed by my mother. And so she was very explicit in and providing guidance on what you should be looking for, the type of man you should be looking for. And I say that explicitly and expressively, the type of man you should be looking for. And so what she painted for me was this picture of somebody who was kind, who was tall, who had nice thighs, who maybe played football at some point in their life, who is good looking, and who loved to eat crabs, who loved music. I mean, all these things, these are all little things that dropped in little nuggets over time. And so what that came to be was really my criteria for what I was looking for. And so I think sometimes even in our kids' lives, our intentions are good, but we can sometimes be too prescriptive in what we're telling them they should accept or look for or pursue. And I think that, and I'm saying that to you, those of you who are parents who, are in that place of, and I like that Miss said, he told his daughters, no kids before they complete their education and no kids before marriage. Right. And then Trey said, listen, moms, keep the house going. Yeah. So
I would just like to say that y'all may not know, but I've never met Wendy's mom because she passed a couple of years before we met. But she was on point though. She was like all over that thing. Miss Bernadette. So listen,
she had it dialed in.
And so, but for our daughters, we get to this point where they meet people and they may even like have some attraction toward these people, and maybe that person has some attraction toward them. But they, oftentimes it has occurred where there's kind of been like a stalemate. And so everybody's just kind of in the room, not with us, but just they're just there in each other's space, but nobody's really kind of stepping forward. Now, and my opinion has been, like, just he need to come and like he need to let his intentions be known. That's been my position. Like, is he gonna just sit there forever? No, you don't need to say a thing, right? If he doesn't have anything to say, then maybe he just loses out. That's just what it is. That's been my position for a minute, and I find myself in this weird position though, where every now and then I'm like I'm telling my daughters things that I would have never thought I would tell my daughter in terms of just how to approach certain situations with a dude. Because back in the day, I would have been like, yeah, good. Hey, I hope he never says anything. Keep on stepping. Hope nobody says anything, and I won't have to do the work.
Exactly.
So
but we find ourselves sharing with them that it is okay to at least admit that you like the person, and it is okay to let him know that you like him. I mean, I think in a lot of ways, it because you said it creates kind of a stalemate. Everybody is waiting for somebody to do something. And unfortunately, too often nobody does anything, or somebody else outside of them does something faster.
And so, man, there's so many. We don't have the time. There's so many things to learn even from that. Because sometimes it's not the time, maybe,
Yeah.
right? And so, but there are some people who are just very intentional. They move fast, and
Mhm.
they know what they want, so they believe, and boom, they go. And next thing you know,
Mhm.
everything blows up. So, is that person doing you a favor or not? It's hard to know because you only get to walk one path.
Yep.
You have to choose, and then we see what happens. And so, you got to really kind of understand what God is saying to you. Ron Harvey says we're not talking a lot because games change so much. We are engaged in conversations and listening, or we are. That is he and Linda.
Yeah.
We share our experiences, and they were not always the best. We tell our daughters to pay attention and date. We stress that that you do not have to stay with the first person you meet. Figure out what you want long term, what you don't want long term. Stop listening with your eyes. Yeah, Ryan.
Yeah.
I mean, so what you want, Ryan, and what you don't want, what you must have, versus what the deal breakers are. You gotta know, because you can look the other way on those deal breakers, right? But there's deal breakers for a reason, right? One of my deal breakers, well, yeah, my wife had to be a Christian girl, period. Had to be, right? Because why? Because I can get involved with somebody who wasn't and get caught up there, but downstream, perhaps that would have shifted. But as far as I'm concerned, I was not trying to do that. I'm not trying to wait that out, do that kind of work. I didn't think that was my thing to do, right? Because and so there are a lot of things that fundamentally that we believe we are aligned on. Now there's a lot of learning around a lot of those things, but we are very much aligned in what we believe and why we believe it. And so therefore, everything that flows downstream from that, to include raising those girls, we're on the same sheet of music. We may be sometimes, like like this with the kids, but she and I, Wendy and I, are united most of the time on what it is we're seeing and how we're going about things.
Yeah. I mean, and there are times when we don't always agree. I mean, initially, as you said, Mike was not a fan of encouraging the girls to do any pursuing, any disclosing, anything that, I mean, he was fine. He was just fine if they would never meet any boy, any man. And then that changes, right? I mean, it changes over time. So our daughters, like I said, are 22 and 20, just a different time in their lives. And they have absolutely prioritized the things that they're doing, right? Their goals, their goals in life. I love that Sydney has her goals for the year. She always does a vision board. She's always laying out all these things that she wants to do. We've heard from both of our daughters that they don't have time for relationships, which is kind of interesting, because they're quick to say it. They have not created the space. And until they do create the space, I don't think that there's space for anybody to walk in. And that just kind of goes back to what we were talking about.
Yeah. And
it's just not time.
You said it changed. Let's not get it twisted, y'all. There's some changes. I'm still working on me. But it is, yeah, I think for me, where the changes have come in terms of when we're talking pursuit, right? Because there have been times when I think it's very clear that the pursuit is happening, but they could be very much like, cutting off all approaches and all avenues. And and I found myself saying, hey, you know what? It's okay to take that phone call. It's okay to have a conversation to understand what this is, who this is, because there's no other way to discover who that is. And so even as I'm having conversations like that, I'm just like, oh God, let me go. I'm gonna go cry now or something, right?
Yeah.
But I think, but it had, I will say, y'all, for real, my bias is still very much like, I think that dude needs to kind of step up.
Yeah.
That's my bias.
Yeah. Right. And I think in terms of actually pursuing a relationship, right?
Yeah.
And so I think there are tiers to this thing and phases to it. There's initially meeting someone, and then there, that exploring whether or not they would be a potential candidate. And then there is the when we take the next step, who is it incumbent upon to take that next step or to declare that it's something official. And so I think, we could talk about the phases, the tiers, all of those things. But for those of you who are single adults out there and you're in this season or time of really trying to figure it out, and maybe you're feeling like you have this sense of urgency because you think a whole lot of time has passed you, or you're looking around and, that whole enemy of the spirit of comparison has dropped in, and it's like, man, all of my friends are married, or all of my friends are married and have kids, and I haven't even had anybody steady, for a steady period of time. Whatever it is, just know that God's timing is perfect, right?
Mhm.
When we try to do things under our own strength and in our own time, we absolutely have every opportunity to completely mess it up.
No
When we
question.
trust God and God's timing, then we can be assured that things are going to happen in the order that they should happen. Maybe you are in a place where you have to create some space, just like we talked about. Maybe you're in a place where you have to really kind of pursue your own purpose and get to work. Maybe you're in a place where you need to clarify and gain some clarity on who is the right person for you. And maybe, you're just in a place of, exactly what you want, exactly what you're looking for. And now you're just kind of in a holding pattern, waiting and trusting and believing that one day that person's going to walk in. So the truth is, maybe that person won't walk in. Maybe you might walk into where that person is, but you have to be open to that in order to receive that.
Yeah.
So Miss says, my mother has only ever met 2 women in my whole life. I married both of them. So I never brought anyone who wasn't worthy of that title. Told my daughters, come correct or I never need to meet him.
Come on now.
Yeah.
All right. Now we're talking.
Real high standard.
No, hold on, Miss. I gotta ask, like, are you married to both of them, like, right now? Or
Oh my goodness.
I mean, just like, anyway, but not but he's speaking of that selectivity. It's funny because our kids, like, I think they're concerned about bringing people to me.
Yep.
And I'm like, what did I say? I'll bring them on over. It'll be fine. No, it won't actually. I mean, but it'll be fine. I'm not abusive to people. I'm not mean. I'm just, I think I'm pretty cool. I mean, I'll ask some questions and everything. We'll sit down and just kick it. I'll ask some questions, but I don't know. I don't know where they got that from. That fear of bring them on around. It'll be great.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's not just our daughters that
Well,
that feel that way. So
that's true.
Everybody can't be wrong. So Nicolette says nobody wants to get hurt by putting themselves out there, and
100%.
you're exactly right. Yeah. So that insecurity, the thought that you might play yourself, or really even this whole idea of rejection, is so powerful that many people won't even play the game because they already are concerned about how they're going to get eliminated.
So I just want to say this about rejection, because we gotta, I think that rejection is like direction. I'm not trying to make it rhyme, but sometimes, okay, you kind of go for the door, it doesn't open. Okay, fine. Right. Next. But sometimes that rejection, there's a pruning, there's a direction that's happening, right?
Yeah.
When things don't work out, and it hurts for things not to work out. And I think one of the biggest nightmares I've had, and I know that some of you for your own kids, and definitely for yourselves, getting hurt feels like a nightmare.
Yeah.
But it's necessary. It's just part of life. I don't know anybody who is where they found themselves walking in that purpose with that person who hadn't gone through some heartache. And so that's the most difficult thing as a parent, because I know that the heartache kind of has to be there in some way, shape, or form. And we want to try to protect our kids from everything, but I can't protect them from relationship heartache any more than I can protect them from falling off their bike or getting in that car accident.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, I think as parents, we feel what they feel. To a certain extent and to a certain degree. I think that sometimes we do too much talking about how things should be, how things are, how things were, without actually sharing about how things are, how things were, and what happened in our own lives. And I think that we kind of set up a situation and expectations that of the things that we hope for them, without walking through it with them. Right. And so I think that, this is not, And I somehow, every time we're talking to singles, it just kind of takes a turn, and I end up saying, these are the conversations you should have with your children.
Yeah.
And that's not really what where we're going with this, but just being mindful, even as married people, how we talk and how we share with our single friends really does kind of set the stage for their expectations of relationships or the marriage that they could have. And I think that we need to be careful and attentive when we're having these conversations, because when someone brings someone, or they say they're thinking about dating somebody, or they think this person might be the one, we should be very careful to not just shut that down, right?
Yeah.
Or to criticize what they're saying or who they're bringing, right? We should be as open and supportive of the people that we know and love as they would be of us if we were in that situation.
Yeah, especially since it's their situation. There's no way for us to know what the path is and how that comes to be. There's just no way to know. And so I think the best way to support folks who are in that space is to pray. And I just want to say to Miss, and he said, was a widower for a short time, unfortunately. And so, thank you for sharing that. And you've been amazing tonight. So I definitely don't want to make light of that, of your situation. So thank you for sharing that, though.
Yeah. So, I mean, and what a blessing that God blessed you to find two women in your life. And as you said, both worthy of being called a wife. That's just a tremendous blessing. So thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Tara, Lady T says, hello, everyone. I'm logging in from the girls' volleyball banquet in Cedar Hill, Texas. Oh my.
So, I just want to say
congratulations.
I'm very thankful that the banquets, the tournaments, the road trips with all the parents and players. I'm kind of glad that's over. But y'all do it. And good luck to the volleyball kids.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute, it's a banquet. I guess
it's a banquet. Over. So the season's over.
Yeah.
I was going to say congratulations. Hopefully it was a great season. So anyway, we could go on and on, but I think we've said quite a bit tonight. But usually we offer some scriptural references. So we referenced a few, right? So we talked about, you said Proverbs 18:22. Yes. You talked about the story of Naomi, Ruth, and Boaz, or Ruth and Boaz specifically. I think there was another one that I was thinking of, and I think, and the pastor talked about it. It's the one with the 3-cord strand.
Oh, you're in Ephesians.
It's Ephesians.
Somebody knows that.
Yes. Which one is that in Ephesians that talks about the 3-cord strand that's not easily broken?
Yep.
I think that is Ephesians.
I'm pretty sure. Yep.
Yeah, but it doesn't say that one went after the other. It just said that they are. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to leave you with this, though, because I think that when we're talking about, what the plan is, what God has for us, there's only really one way to know what God's plan is for us. And that is to pray and ask him to guide us and to wait for it to happen. And when I say wait, I don't mean sit down, kick back and wait, right? I mean, get to work. Right, whatever your work might be, and wait for God to deliver. Okay, so 1 Thessalonians, I think it's 5, starting at 16. That's the verse that says, "Rejoice always." It begins anyway. Rejoice always and pray without ceasing.
Yeah,
talk to God about where you're supposed to be, who you're supposed to be there with. And trust him to do it. But I think it is okay to talk to God. Wendy had like a checklist of, I say checklist. She had a list of things that she prayed for. So she says, I don't think I've ever seen that list. But And so how many were on the list?
27.
27. How many were like checked off?
Like all of them.
That's crazy, right?
Plus some bonus things.
27. Who has like a 27 item list? That's amazing. Plus bonus things.
Somebody that's been through some stuff.
right?
I mean, and I I think that, you know, having some experience, having relationships before my relationship with you, all serve to inform my expectations,
Yeah.
and I think that's in line with what you were saying, right? Unfortunately, every relationship isn't the perfect relationship, and
Right.
things don't always work out. And sometimes what you think is best for you turns out not to be what's best for you. But being in a place where if you're praying and seeking and placing God first, then again, it comes back to knowing that the person that God puts in your life, puts in front of you, or has you walk into their office is absolutely who he intended for you to be with. Don't rush it. And I think we talked about that. Don't succumb to this whole idea of anxiety or urgency or peer pressure just because you may have been in the game for a little bit longer than maybe some of your peers. It's not about your time. It's not about settling. It's not about just accepting whatever is in front of you or whatever is in the pond that you happen to be fishing at. Sometimes you have to change location or look somewhere else and be open to what God is sending you and who God is sending you. Again, there's so many things in our lives that we try to put our hands on and that we try to control. And this one absolutely is one of them.
Yeah.
And so I just want to encourage you in that. There's a young woman, and we do a lot of talking. There's a young woman that was sharing over the last year about this whole idea of being single. And she was saying, well, you know, that's all fine and good. All y'all old married women are talking about it. And, you know, but it's good for y'all. But down here, we're like burning. And I'm like,
So funny.
woo, okay. Yeah, we get it. We get it. we know that hormones are raging. We know that the clock seems to be ticking, but what a beautiful thing it can be if you wait on the Lord. That's all I have to say about that. I mean, she was serious about that thing. Yeah. That's real.
Yeah. I'll simply say this, you know, a lot of times, fellas, it is, you know, if it feels like kind of that masculine thing to be the one to pursue what have you, I'll simply say, if you see her and you know it's her, make a move. And if she's coming in your direction, just like receive her and keep it pushing, right? If she happens to call you first or whatever, listen, hey, if you know it's her, go for it. So anyway, let's pray because it's time for us to go.
Yeah, right? I see Terrence Neal joined us.
Hey,
thank you for being here.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you all for being here. If you all would let us, we're going to pray with you real fast.
Yeah.
Heavenly Father, we just come today. Just thank you for being God. Thank you for the time that we spent, for everyone that's watching, everyone that watched. Just ask you be with them. For those who are searching, God, help them to seek you first, and you will deliver everything else that they need. We thank you for being faithful, God, and we just ask you bless everyone here. Bless all the married couples, bless their marriages and homes, bless anyone that's single, bless their children, bless everything that they put their hands to, God. And we'll be sure to give you the honor, the glory, and the praise. We thank you. We love you. We pray these and all blessings in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. You had something?
No, I don't. Hey, look. Y'all check it out. Y'all know what it is. This is JC, my man from Atlanta.
Oh, yeah.
With our song,
Yeah.
Lifetime by Mike and Wendy. Y'all check out JC on YouTube, Spotify. And this song too there, but JC, he's a beast. So anyway,
yeah. So we're going to be on the road again, but we're going to do our best to be on Monday. You can find us here on Mondays at 7 Eastern time. If you thought something that we shared might resonate with someone that you know, or maybe, you know, somebody that knows somebody, just share this particular video, this live. Bring them on in here next week and we'll meet you here. Thanks and have a blessed week.
Bye, y'all.
Girl, I want it. Got me all up in my feelings. Oh, what a feeling, yeah. I knew the first time I laid eyes on you that you would be here forever. I'm not being arrogant. And I still can't take my eyes off you. 'Cause you made me better, so much better. I'm in the mood to love you for a lifetime. I'm in the mood to love you for a lifetime, baby. I love your kindness, I love your confidence. Ooh, you're the finest. So glad you're mine, yeah. I don't wanna be with nobody else. Give me your love, that's all the worth I need. Baby, you're priceless to me, yeah. To love you for a lifetime, I'm in the mood to love you for a lifetime, yeah. Promise I'ma be around, I'ma always hold you down. Won't you come and hold me now? Won't you come and hold me now? I just got no cool, yeah, I know I got a woo, but I always keep it down with you, yeah. And I know they see, girl, you're my queen, and beauty speaks for itself loud and clear, yeah. So throw it in the air. It's the sweetest sound to follow my ear. And I want the world to know I'll love you forever. And that's a long time, babe. I got time for you, baby. I'm in the mood. Ooh, for a lifetime. I'm in the mood to love you, yeah. For a lifetime, baby. Ooh, yeah. For a lifetime, oh, for a lifetime, yeah.